Hey y'all, this is TCA Gaming. This will be the last part to our Q&A. We're going to make sure we make it through all 6 pages that we have here. Just based on the first couple videos, that would be about 40 minutes. We'll just have to see. I know I was kind of going through the questions a little bit quicker, especially ones that have been repeated in that last video. So we're going to start this one off with a question from Fury Death. So a Shadowless Charizard on Shop Google went from 50 to 500. He had like a little face with flat eyeballs. Question. I guess what factors do you use to decide? I think it's supposed to say. I think that's what he's supposed to say. Decide if a card should be graded. Well, if you're grading it for your personal preference, then use that. If you're grading it to make money, then base it off of how much money you can make. So for me, I think with Charizards, even just a base Charizard has been bent in half. I grade those now because even PSA 1s, there's a market for it. And for as cheap as that, the PSA encasing costs, usually you have a little bit better markup. And you don't have a buyer who was like, hey, I didn't realize this thing was in terrible condition. When you put PSA 1 poor in the title, it kind of takes away that extra accountability that you have as a seller for not describing it accurately or not giving it the right angle. If it says PSA 1 poor in the title, it is very obvious that it's not a great condition card. Now, same thing with Shadowless Charizard. I would grade all of those. For the most part, it's just worth it to have it graded. People want to know that what they're buying is authentic, and for the $8 to $10 that you would spend if you're doing like bulk, or even if you did like $13 if you're doing through me, where you don't want to do any of the work, it's not that bad of a price. Next up, we have Jonathan M., and he asks, what is your favorite Shining Crystal and Gold Star Pokemon? What is your least favorite Shining Crystal Gold Star Pokemon? My favorite... Let's just go with Shinings. I'm going to just stick to those. My favorite Shining... Maybe Shining Gyarados. I like the Neodesty ones. But I just like the way the Gyarados looks. It's got that red Gyarados, or the red tint to his skin. It reminds me of Pokemon Silver when I go to catch that level 30 Shining Gyarados in that lake. I can't remember what the lake is. It may have been Magikarp Lake or something. I don't know. What is your least favorite Shining? Noctowl. I think it's probably the lowest priced one. Maybe that's why I don't like it. But you look at the other ones. Kabutops, I kind of get that. Celebi, I definitely get it. Charizard, Raichu, Tyranitar, Felix, and then you've got Noctowl. Why is that a Shining? So next up from Occasional Pokemon, we have when will you be showing another collection video? Try to show at least one a week. You guys kind of see what comes in through my mail. A lot of stuff that I buy goes into my personal collection. Whenever I can, sift it off, or at least just set it back for some time, if nothing else, to sell later on in the year. From Anthony Batillo, how did you get the money to begin buying all the expensive stuff you buy, like how much you made from your job or what you invested in to get the money? I didn't have any startup money. I had a few cards. Like I said, the original sets I was collecting was Base, Fossil, and Jungle back in 2009, and they were worth basically nothing back then. I was just trying to get a few extra. I think it was like an Articuno number 17, the rare from Fossil, and I was just selling some extra stuff. Back then, packs were like $2. This is for the Diamond and Pearl era. Everything was cheap back then. I used to buy Fossil First Ed packs. There used to be a guy who would sell them in lots of 10, and you could win them for $30 in auction. You get 10 Fossil First Edition packs, $30. Not even joking. So I didn't have anything really to begin with. I just started out with basically nothing, trying to collect a little bit, selling what I did have extra of, which may amount to $1 or $2, and I spend $1 or $2. And every now and then you might get lucky with something and make $10, and then it slowly snowballed into where now it's I'm doing the big purchases, but I still do a lot of small ones. You guys go to my eBay. A lot of the PSA cards I have are valued under $50. Next up, from Alex Parcell, do you think in the near future we will be remembering the time we could pick up WotC Mint9 for $50 and under. Think how good of a deal it was. Yeah, I do. WotC, I think it's going to be a while just because Wizards of the Coast was very heavily printed, and a lot of the stuff is being kept and held and resold and resold. A lot of it's already been preserved. It's not like it's sports from the 50s where they had to wait 40 years for something to come around to preserve those kind of collectibles. It was happening right away, right out of the gate. Next up, the ASMR coding. What do you do with all the commons and uncommons, rainbow rares, and hollows / bulk? A lot of the stuff I send to Troll and Toad, and they sell it. It sells on their site. I'm in their evolution program. From what I can tell, I think I'm one of their top sellers on their website. Next up from Sean B. How do you feel about first edition base Shadowless PSA 10 commons cards only being around $40 to $50? I think it's a really good deal. In fact, I've got a stack right here, PSA 10 first ed non-hollows that I plan to list. These were in a box. I didn't realize these 10s were in there. I knew I had some, but I didn't realize it was this many. Some of these I'm going to be listing for on that price. Somebody had asked for some PSA 10 first ed non-hollows, what my prices were, and I gave my prices and it didn't get back to me. And every single one of these I was matching or beating the eBay prices other than the energies. And the energies, I think I had priced it $40 each, and the reason I did that was because I don't think that there should be anything below $40. It's a PSA 10 first edition base set card. Kind of the same way with the PSA 9 first ed hollows. I don't think there should be anything below $39.99. It's just like a baseline for me. Next up from Happy Zebra 86. What are your thoughts about Japanese no rarity symbol base set? Thank you. Cool. You're doing Q&A. I don't have like the full lowdown on the history of this set and if it was massively printed or if it wasn't. I know that most of the base set hollows I get do have the rarity symbols. I mean, I think there is a significant difference in the scarcity. However, I don't think many people care. The high-end collectors are the ones going to be like the really top tier niche. I mean, you only need a few people who really want these to make the prices go up. And you have that in the hobby. I've got a PSA 8 no rarity Charizard on eBay, I think for $3,000 right now. You know, that's way more than just the regular rarity one. But most people don't know about them or just don't care. Maybe that's just me being an English collector talking, but it's in a way just something that's just not a really big market. Like I said, it's niche. Next up from Sports Videos, I think this is his question. Have you ever been to New Zealand or have any plans to? Love the videos. I have not been to New Zealand. I haven't really thought about planning a trip there. My wife and I have thought about going to Australia. We want to see the Great Barrier Reef. We thought about going to see Unlisted Leaf, Anando, Michael. Some of my bigger deals are in Australia. I know a few people there, but personally I don't know anybody. New Zealand, I think that would be a great trip too. Maybe, if I could get my passports, and I've never been out of country, so it would be cool to do. Right now, there's no way it's going to happen anytime soon. My wife's pregnant. We got another kid on the way. One's starting up in school. Just a lot of, responsibilities to the family. From Drake Riling from Q&A. Do you plan to expand your channel to any other type of collectible in the future, like other trading card games or of something else? Otherwise, I always enjoy your content. I have no plans to. If anything ever it did expand into, it would be maybe Yu-Gi-Oh!, a little bit of Magic the Gathering. I do collect Alpha in that. And then Yu-Gi-Oh! I do have the original sets and some of the original boxes, but it's nothing compared to what I have on the Pokemon side. It's, I keep it in a tub. I keep all of it in one tub, where Pokemon is just all over the place. So for now, I'm going to stick to Pokemon. It's my main thing. Next up, the Pokey Coder. I know you get a lot of collection and sealed packs or box purchases. What's the best / most interesting story you've heard from a seller? The most things, the best. I don't really keep like a track of, I guess, the most extremes for different types of stories. But I can tell you this week, a unique story. There was a guy who contacted me on eBay, and he was like, "Hey, I noticed a funny thing that you're shipping out of Hildebrand, North Carolina. I'm in Eichert." And I'm like, oh, cool. I live off Eichard Road, his road. And he was like, no way. I live off Gus Eichard Road, which, I mean, if I had a really good arm, maybe I could throw a rock to a street. And then he told me his parents' name. And I'm like, is your brother Alex? And he said, well, actually, I said, are you related to Alex or Kim Strauss? Those are people that I knew. And I'm pretty sure I knew who he was when he said his name. He was like, no way, Alex is my brother. This is Rusty, basketball Rusty. And I'm like, yeah, that's me, man. And I've actually played basketball with this guy before. He's one of my high school friends that I used to hang out with, his little brother, and he's pretty good. This kid's name is Andrew. I don't know how many years younger, maybe 5 years or so. And I invited him to play basketball with us on Sundays when we go play at a local recreational center. And maybe he'll come out, who knows? But it was just, small world, having somebody contact me that I actually knew, and he didn't know who I was, until I guess he connected the dots to, I think he said B&B Royal, which is that's basically where my shop was. It's just at a local gas station. Connected that to my name being Rusty and the Rusty that he knew, from when he was in high school, I guess, middle school and high school. In fact, I actually bought this kid's collection from his brother. I think it was like for $80 or something like that. And this was right when I was getting into the full-time business of selling Pokemon. So it's kind of cool, things are coming back full circle because his collection was, one of those collections that kicked me off and helped me, that I was buying locally for, my full-time job. So next up, we have Zachary Williamson. I've recently come across your videos and have started to yearn for the nostalgia. I do not currently collect cards, packs, boxes, but I have been doing some research on packs and noticed they can be fairly pricey. Are there any recommendations that you give to someone like me who is in love with the vintage packs on where to start? Like the best bang for my buck. I'm just looking for like a fine foundation to start my collection on. I have also been considering purchasing bulk of cards off someone just to start out, but didn't know if you had any recommendations. Thanks. Well, I mean, what can you afford? Your cheapest WotC packs, you got your Fossil and your Jungle, $30-$40. I mean, I might have a few on my website for $40 now, but even at that price, guaranteed light, they're going to sell pretty quick. The longer you wait, the higher price this stuff is going to get. I think Jungle, Fossil, Base, those 3 packs, they're pretty cheap considering they're the original 3 sets. Anything WotC is kind of affordable if you think about the price that it has. But I would start with just Base, Jungle, and Fossil, go with unlimited packs. And if you're doing it for the nostalgia of relating back to that time, back in 1999, 2000, maybe even 2001, those packs are pretty cheap. Next up, from Arnaud 33,200 or 33,200. When was the first do you start collecting Pokemon cards? I started collecting when I was 10. Do you still have your first cards? Actually, I have a binder where my father collected with me maybe for a year or so. I don't have my first cards, but I do have his. I have my original Pokemon League book and maybe a few other things. Like I got an original poster that I used to have in my room. It was a Team Rocket set poster. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There's probably a few other things, but as for cards, I have my dad's original binder. Never touched. He's got a Charizard in there and some other pretty cool things. Next up, from Occasional Pokemon. With PSA being inconsistent lately, do you plan on submitting more through BGS? Also, who's your favorite Pokemon and why? I think PSA is more consistent now. They're more strict. And there are random grades that I don't understand, but I think they are more consistent now. BGS does not get more business because they are not consistent at all. Like, I like BGS. I like their cases. I like the way they grade things. Their customer service is fantastic. But anything below a 9, you're really getting into sketchy grades. You don't know if the grade that they gave that card is justifiable. And that's why there's the price point on it doesn't really bring any premium like where PSA it does. I like the fact that they grade certain things that PSA doesn't. That can be a good and bad thing as well. Next up, Adam Wilson. Question, what are your top 5 favorite Pokemon card arts? Again, this isn't something that I keep on hand, but I'll tell you my favorite one. My favorite one is the Mewtwo from Expedition. The holographic one, the number 20, where he's got his hands up and the lightning's coming down back behind him. I just love that card artwork. The Golden Luth Projects. When are you going to invest in Digimon? Start investing in Digimon. I actually bought some promos recently, but it's not really something that I plan to invest in. I like Digimon. Maybe if I can get some boxes and some trades, like some original ones for a good price, sure. But I'm not going to go anything heavy into it. I got a 800 count of original promos for like $100 or something. I was like, yeah, that's a good deal. Yeah, I'll buy it and let it sit. Next up from the Golden War Turtle, your knowledge on all the sets is amazing. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast. Well, hopefully you can remember breakfast, but I appreciate that. Adam, he buys a lot for me, so thank you. Next up from Eyelash or Losh. I've never seen a card to be graded. What's the cost? What costs go along with it? Well, you have your time. If you're just looking for direct costs, you've got your money, whatever service level that you're going to submit at. If you're submitting yourself, you're going to have to pay to get the card there. You're going to have to pay for your packaging materials, pay for the card itself, pay for the submission. You're going to pay for return shipping from PSA. Make sure you label everything as well. That's where your time comes in. And then if you didn't submit on the right level or high enough level, there may be upcharges. Next up from Robert West, I'd like to know what your first big purchase as a collector was and when it was. The first one that I can specifically recall is where I made a purchase for. It had all the gold stars. It had all the first edition holographic cards from the WotC series, including base set. And then there was a slew of other stuff with it. And I got it for like $1,000, something like that. I ended up grading all the first edition holos. One of the Charizards come back PSA 10. This is base set Charizard. I sold that same one for $1,600 just to give you a perspective of the amount. Back then it was about $250 for a first edition set. So I mean, this was a lot of money to invest in the Pokemon at the time. But I think it was like, I remember specifically the Registeel got a PSA 10. Sold it for $50. I mean, back then this stuff just wasn't expensive like it is today. Next up from Dr. Weeb 103. You should do a giveaway. I'm a broke boy and really love Pokemon, so a giveaway would be a smash hit. I've done giveaways before. They don't normally work out. Next up, Matthew Thompson. What heavy pack would you recommend I buy and sit on for 5 or 10 years? A base first edition pack. Let's see. Stephen Kissoon. Hey, Rusty. How do you think a recession will affect the markets for collectibles, particularly Pokemon? Also, what are your thoughts on long-term sustainability of Shadowless in E-Series? Well, it depends on what kind of recession you have, how hard it hits. But, I mean, like anything, it would slow things down. But if you have something really rare and really old, you're probably going to keep it. Like my Typhlosion First Edition PSA 10, I mean, that would not be the first card that I'd sell. I'd just sell the other stuff that I don't care about. That's what most people would do. So that's where the market would flood. And the stuff that's really rare, people are still going to hold on to it. So I think the prices would stay, higher on those. If it's priced higher and it's a lot harder to get, then that's going to be the last stuff to come out of people's collections. Long-term sustainability of Shadowless and E-Series. These sets are tough to find, but they're not that rare if you compare it to a lot of collectibles that are out there other than just Pokemon. I think that sets like Expedition are due a price hike. Shadowless can too, but for now, I mean, the market's pretty optimized. So I'm not really sure. When it runs out, we could see some spikes as long as the interest in the demand is still there. A lot of people connect back to base set. A majority of the market that does connect back to the base set doesn't have to have Shadowless. They just want to see that artworks. They didn't have Shadowless. There are people who want Shadowless because it is exclusive and it's that next tier in collecting. But a lot of the people that drive the market don't even care because they're going for the artwork anyways. They just want that base set Charizard, with that artwork right there, in the reprint. But they don't need to have a card that's missing a shadow or that has a first edition stamp. That's for the collector who's taking it to the next level. Next up, from Agent Banks. Man, this is a long question. Hey, Rusty. Love your content and the knowledge you bring to the community. I've got a question. With millions of cards going through your hands personally, what are some of the cards you see that you stop to look at a little longer than most because of their art, history, and personal experiences? War Turtle from base set because it has an error. I like the card itself. I connect with it maybe because selling individual cards, I've sold a lot of the War Turtle, and it's just always the uncommon that I've been able to sell for $3, $4, which is crazy if you think about it. Even back then, when cards were really cheap, like I said, it was a $2 uncommon, and you don't see that from a lot of the other cards. And if you have time for another, with gold stars in the EX series pretty much outshining every other card in those sets, with a few exceptions, do you think there will come a time where the other EX cards will expand their price point a little more? Or the value in chase of gold stars to keep the EX cards prices down? Thank you for your time and everything you do. I think it will. It's just going to take time. It's kind of like with the WotC sets, we're seeing cards like a Wigglytuff from base set 2 come out because it's so hard to get in PSA 10. I think with EX series, maybe a sleeper is something like the Milotic. I think that one's really low pop for PSA 10. That's why we've even seen the ungraded copies go up on that one. I think it's the one from Emerald. It's the Milotic EX from Emerald. But that's going to happen. It's just natural for the market. The more people enter into it and want to collect the EX series cards, the more demand there are going to be for the cards that are truly scarce. We just don't know what those cards are yet. Next up, 1R Man. Hey, Rusty, I would be interested to know how you make just from YouTube and how the EPN links. I do okay on YouTube. Last month was really good. It was like $2,000 or something like that just from advertising. But a lot of that was driven from the scam video and the expedition packs and just saw a lot of traffic coming through. It was the best month that I ever had. I think right now, I don't know if that child act thing, COPPA, it's killing my ratings or whatever, but I know some of these Q&A videos do pretty bad in regards to how much money gets made off of them because of the views. But, it's back down to like $20, $30 a day just from all of my videos combined, what I'm making in advertising. And honestly, when I'm dedicating hours on into doing something like this and make sure my girls and my wife visit over here, it may not be worth it sustainably for the long term unless, my subscribers go up or something like that. But I mean, it's not too bad. It's kind of nice. EPN, it does okay. It's also been capped off at like $5.50 per category, which I was already making almost twice that, so it almost instantly cut me in half, just for the collectibles section. So it does okay, but I make more money than that in one day just selling on eBay than I make for the entire month through YouTube and EPN combined usually. And the way that I justify doing YouTube and EPN is because I'm telling myself that I'm driving traffic to my eBay account from YouTube videos like this where people are like, hey, let me just go check out and see if he's got anything else for sale today. Or let's go check out his website and see if he's got any heavier light packs that I can buy. So I think that's where the majority of my earnings come from YouTube and these EPN links is where I'm driving the traffic physically myself through these YouTube videos to my own business. Advertising doesn't pay that much. Halo, My Ego. What is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card of all time? I like Black Skull Dragon. I really like him. I like Gate Guardian. Maybe I like those because those were like the really high-tack cards, from the early series. United We Stand. That one sticks out. I really like that card. Maybe we'll just go with one of those three. Pokemon 2019. This is awesome, man. Have really enjoyed watching you for the past year and a half. Hope to be involved for many years to come. Edit to come with question. Pokemon 2019. You forgot, man. Next up, Tim Morris. My personal choice for favorite art would be any Heart Gold Soul Silver. The entire set has beautiful cards. I agree. It is a pretty good set. I like the base set. I like the way they speckle the color around the border. Lugia or Ho-Oh. Also, what's your favorite legendary dog and why? Ooh, I'm going to go with Lugia. I like them both. It's pretty close, but Lugia I connect with because I caught him and it was like Aeroblast or something like that he had attack. Silver, it just worked out great. What's my favorite legendary dog? I mean, I guess I could say Entei because I have an Entei. I have a dog named Entei. But I kind of like Suicune. It just looks pretty sleek. Next up, from Fletchy, question for the Q&A. If someone offers you way more than what your collection is worth, would you accept it? It'd have to be way, way more because I don't even know how much my collection is worth. So if you win the lottery and you want to make me a very nice offer, maybe we can talk. Next up, just a thought. When we get a face cam, I think my camera actually has a dual camera, but I just haven't taken the time really to figure it out. I figure that's more editing to do. Here, you guys can probably look it up. Tell me if it is. Panasonic. It says 4K on the side. I don't know if that helps anything. Yeah. All right, next up. Ozers Linzolo. What's your favorite sealed product type? Blisters, booster boxes, collection boxes. I like boxes. Blisters are pretty cool if they're funky, if they're like a double blister or something like that. Same thing with collection boxes. If it's like that anime box where it's got a bunch of just weird stuff thrown in there, I like those. Or the sealed Southern Islands binder, I really like those. But, just the standard out of those three booster boxes. Too crazy to go. Next up, Joel Bobbins. What's the most interesting Pokemon card error you've seen or owned? I've got a lot of different errors. I like errors that you see multiples of, and it wasn't just a one-off. That way it was something that was a mistake that was done. Like some of you may have not heard of some of these. There's a Victory Bell, that's a first edition Victory Bell from Jungle Set. Some of them have a red back. I've seen 2 of those. I've seen a double backside Pokemon card. So like it had a backside, That one was pretty cool. There was a Rainbow Energy from Team Rocket that had a slice that just went straight through the card. It was not like a physical slice, it was an ink slice. And then on the other side of like where it cut through the corner, so say you got a card, it cuts through this corner. On this side, there's like nothing. It's just like blank. I've seen 2 of those. I own both myself. I've seen they made these holiday ornament cards where they're double-sided holographics and they're like cut weird. Some of those come out many years ago. They're pretty cool. It'd be nice to see those come up again. I've seen some really, really messed up Ancient Mew cards. There's a lot of different errors out there, and for me, just the funkier the better. All right. Hey, man, I have 2 questions. Do you collect anything other than cards? Like I said, not really. I used to collect beer bottle caps when I used to pick them up, walk around, motel, and keys and coins. But I don't really collect anything else now. Do you watch sports? What's your team? Yeah, I don't really watch sports anymore, but it was UNC, North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Next up, Andy Bribby. Do you think collecting Hidden Fates for the future is a good investment? Also, favorite Bible verse. Oh, there's a contrast there. I do, if you're going to hold on to it for a while. It should continue to come down over the next year. There's a lot of Charizard GXs that are still at PSA from the initial wave. And then now that this crazy wave come out for Christmas, who knows how many were sent in. So prices should continue to steadily come down for at least another year. But if you're going to hold on to the stuff long term, if you're going to collect like a set or something like that, I would go with the sealed product and try to resell that. Maybe the Elite Trainers, that's probably the best bet. And then also my favorite Bible verse. I have a couple. I like, I can't remember this one, but my favorite version of it, it's out of Romans. It's like, maybe it's Romans 12:7. It's Romans something. But it's seek ye not revenge, but leave room for the wrath of God. But probably my favorite one that I like that is a little bit more relatable. It's Ephesians 4:28. And basically it's saying, if you're a thief, don't steal anymore, but work hard so that you have to give to others. And to me, I don't look at the first part of that as the main issue there. It is saying, work for what you have, but I actually take it a little differently. The second part of it says so that you have, something to share with those who are in need. To me, it tells me I have a purpose for whatever I have in excess for. Like there's a reason God has blessed me with extra Pokemon cards. Maybe it gives me a way to talk to other people, or it gives me a way to financially help others that are in my area or even outside of my area. So to me, I think it's something that verse can apply in many different ways, but that's how I take it, and that's why I like that verse. Next up, from Jacob Roleff, will we ever see your face in a video? Well, I guess this answers your question. Simon Gamer 987, why don't you collect sealed Japanese stuff? I don't really relate to it that much. I like sealed Japanese stuff, don't get me wrong. I mean, I like it better than new stuff, but I'm focused more on what I do like the most. PSA 10 WotC cards, uncut sheets, sealed English product. And that in itself is way too broad, really, for any collector to get everything. So I'm focused on getting that stuff. Maybe if I ever get it all, sure, I'll go to Japanese, but who knows if I'll ever even get there. I mean, it's just so much, to collect if I start bringing in Japanese stuff. Then I lose focus, and I have these extra items that I spent money on that I don't even know if I can resell. Next up, from Harry Wade. How have you got so much money to buy the booster boxes, PSA graded cards, etc.? You have a tidy sum stacked up. Money, excuse my English tongue. Also, what do you do work-wise outside of making videos and opening cards? That is what I do. I've just saved up. I pretty much had my first credit cards this year, and I've got 3 or 4 of them just to get the extra money back that they offer when you use them. But I haven't had much debt throughout my life. If I did get debt, I try to pay it off very quickly. Live meagerly, I've lived meagerly at moments so that I did not go in debt. I've walked many roads before. I mean, I used to ride my bike to places. Even when I had the shop here back in 2016, I would ride my bike from my house to the shop. I mean, it's 5.5 miles there. The hills are up and down. It's not like flat blocks like you're in the city or something. I mean, you got to go around curves and wait for people to hopefully see you. If not, you're jutting off to the side. Sometimes you just have to dial back how you live. But what you're probably talking about is you see all these things that I'm bringing in, that I'm purchasing. I'm spending tens of thousands of dollars on this stuff. I may spend $10,000 on an item, but that doesn't mean it's for me and I had $10,000 extra laying around. It's $10,000 of business money. And I bought that box with business money, and I have to sell it. And then I still have to pay all my taxes on the profits and myself to live. I mean, that's pretty much where the little bit of money that we have is going. Well, the little bit of money that you make off of each item, that's where that's going. But when you don't have debts, you're not a slave to rent or to utilities that you don't need, or even from what I hear, like TV can cost a couple $100 now just to have it, every month. I mean, that's a lot of money if you think about it, that you could be putting towards something that you don't even really need. But, I don't pay $500 in rent a month. For some of you who are watching, you may be paying thousands of dollars in rent or to a mortgage payment. I don't have that because I bought a trailer that was a foreclosure, basically needed everything redone, and I put the work in myself. I worked really long nights to try and figure this stuff out over YouTube, or talk to my friends or to people at my church that may know how to do this kind of work. I got in, and it's paid off, doing that kind of stuff. I mean, I still live in a trailer, and we feel the breeze at night, but it gets pretty hot over there during the summer. I tell you what, that stuff doesn't have any insulation in the ceiling. Like the way they've built their ceilings is kind of like that, but the space that you would normally have, it's not like a big truss that you would have for a stick-built building. Like you can't go up into the space, for a trailer. So when that sun hits it, it's warming up everything that you got in there. So you really got to crank out some air to stay cool. But that's pretty much what happens. The money comes into the business and it goes right back out, and that's also why the taxes aren't so bad at the end of the year, because we're constantly just bringing the money in, pushing it right back out. And then outside of making videos and openings, I sell cards. I mean, this is what I do. Everything with Book1 stuff. I don't, everything that I make money for. I mean, there's Patreon now. I make some money through there. And then PayPal. There's some from my website, EPN, YouTube advertising. I have money kind of trickling in from different sources, but it's all Pokemon related, every bit of it. My wife doesn't make any money. She helps me in the mornings, but she gets to be a stay-at-home mom and wife, I guess, and I get to be a stay-at-home dad and Pokemon salesman, so I love it. Next up, Ian Underhill. When someone has something they want graded through your service, what's the best way to send the cards to you? What would you recommend the cards be in? Avoid tape. Boxes are good. Card savers are okay. Top loaders are okay. Honestly, if you're going to send a lot of cards, I would almost recommend having like a cardboard box. You have all the cards in penny sleeves and you put it in there. Just make sure you got bubble wrap on the top of that so it's kind of nice and tight. But you don't want a lot of movement. But I would definitely use a box. Avoid tape, because any tape you put on there is tape I have to take off. If I can't pop it off with my finger, then I'm going to have to use a knife to cut it off, and that just adds a blade. You're coming really close to your cards. I won't damage them, I promise you, but if I can't open it up, then I will reach out to you and ask you what would be the best way that you would want me to unpack them. I haven't run into that issue yet, but there have been a few collections that I've gotten in that have been taped really bad, and I just don't want to take risks in damaging someone else's collectible, especially if it's going to go to PSA. So avoid tape, send it in a box, make sure you protect it. Next up from Ginge E. What's the most expensive Pokemon card you own? Right now, I guess the Typhlosion, the first edition Typhlosion PSA 10. It's the only one I've spent 10 grand on. I'm working on the wire transfer now for the first ed base set Charizard. You guys can probably look out for the video for that. Hopefully I'll have that in a couple weeks. We'll just have to see how long it takes. I am dealing with a guy from Australia. And PayPal will not allow a transaction that large for whatever reason to go through our accounts. Hey Rusty, quick question for the Q&A. This is from Duck Slayer. Have you ever considered making a guide for every error? Obviously, it would be impossible to keep track of all of them because I'm sure new ones are getting discovered. But it'd be cool to see a lot of them listed down in maybe like a text document real quick and put on to your Patreon. I have made a guide before. I made an eBay guide, and then Rock Carolina also made a guide, and I assisted with that. But eBay did away with them, so that kind of sucks. I'd love to have that file still shareable for the public, but sadly it's not there. And I probably have the photos still saved somewhere. It'd be kind of cool to go back through and do something like that with pictures, ones that are at least repeated, not just one-offs. But it's kind of tough because there's so many that they're still coming out today. I mean, the Krabby error hasn't been around that long. As far as I know, it hasn't anyways. And that's one that the price is still being hammered out for. Controller87 says, will you share your most prized cards with us? Doesn't necessarily have to be the most valuable ones, just the ones that mean a lot to you. I've shared a lot of them with you in videos. I mean, I have a lot of videos on YouTube now. I know some of them are pretty old. Quality is worse than what I have even now. But in time, I'll probably share some more stuff. Job Lays. I honestly feel the need to know how much you have invested in the Pokemon empire you have built. I really don't know. I mean, personal money, not. I don't know if I have any. Like I said, I didn't really start with anything. It's just kind of built and grown and grown and grown and grown. And I hope it continues to grow, especially with inflation. Maybe one of these days, I'll check out and just tuck away some of my collectibles and then just go sit in the mountains and enjoy watching it snow over at Grandfather Mountain with my family, watch them run around the snow. We went up to Blowing Rock, North Carolina. We jumped on the Blue Ridge Parkway. I mean, the snow is just coming down. But it had been 50 earlier that day, so none of it was sticking to the asphalt. But it started getting really thick, so we got off the parkway and started going down 321. And we just pulled over somewhere to the side. Jeff had to go to the bathroom really bad, and he's kind of taking some steps backwards. So he was outside, on the side of the road, just letting it go. And, man, I tell you what, we got out of the vehicle and we just started making snowballs and throwing them at each other. It was just so fun just doing that with our kids, because where I live at now, we live in the foothills, and usually we get 1 or 2 snows every year. But we're within an hour of the mountains where they get a lot of snow. Mountains here on the Appalachian Mountains is completely different than over there with in the Midwest, the Rockies and all that stuff. I know you guys. I mean, y'all have some real mountains, but up here it's still beautiful. I tell you what, and the weather changes over up there. They still have all 4 seasons, but they get a lot more snow than we do. So we like to travel to the mountains and see, just to drive around in it, and it was just a lot of fun. So for me, if I could move anywhere, I would move up there, and that would be what I would give my Empire up for if I had to. Just more time with my family. And I don't even know if I see it as a Pokemon Empire. It's just a collection that's pretty unique. I've been able to set some stuff back, and luckily it turned into something that was stuff that's really nice that people think of as, collectibles that are rare and unique. I got lucky on a lot of things. All right, and then the last question, very last question, from Bradley Lawson. S.M. Pratt talks about how he got back into collecting over a decade ago when he was in college with the Southern Island set. What was the card / set that brought you back into this collecting game? And do you still have your first graded card you acquired? So I kind of got back into it. My brother, I think I was 16 years old. This is 2016. He gave me $100. And I used his YouTube account, or not his YouTube, his eBay account. I bought a base set box for $100. I won that, and I paid up a little bit, but I just wanted an original base set box. I thought it was the coolest thing. And I kept that until I went off to college. And when I went to college, I started buying and selling to complete my sets. And I remember I sold a Ninetales for $90. And then I sold a Gengar for $17. And I realized, what? This I could make money off of. I could sell the stuff that I don't want. And if I could, get this kind of sale every day, I'd be okay. So that's what kind of brought the base set box is what I purchased. It was the very first thing that got me back into the game. And then the Ninetales and the Gengar got me into the selling game. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it for the Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Wait. I do not have my first graded card that I ever acquired. I don't remember what that is, but I guarantee you I don't have it. My very first PSA submission, I got a PSA 9 and a PSA 10 Charizard from base set, and I sold them both. So I do not have those anymore. Now that's it. So that's it for all the questions. Thank you guys for all of you who have participated, not only with submitting your questions, but actually watching all of these videos. I imagine not many of you are still tuned in at this point of the video, but I'll have more Pokemon directly related videos coming up where you're not seeing my face, but you're going to see some Pokemon stuff. Thanks.